What's up guys, and welcome to round number 7 of the F1 Legends career mode. We're approaching the final few rounds of the season now, and as you can see, we are at the famous Spa-Francorchamps circuit for the Belgian Grand Prix. As always, there are changeable conditions around for the weekend, and I have got to say I am very much looking forward to this race. Spa probably up there with the top 3 tracks, if not one of my favourite tracks on the calendar. Not one that I've had terrible success with, especially over recent few career modes. But hopefully today we will be able to extend our championship lead. Make sure to leave a like down below if you are still enjoying this series. When you're watching this, I'll actually be on holiday, so there will only be, this will be the first of 2 videos this week. But the next one might be a few days afterwards. But anyway, less of that, more of the action. And we're actually going to get straight into the race today. So you may be able to see there my teammate starting in P5. We are just behind him, and there is the grid for the race. And it was a McLaren Honda front row lockout, so Mika Hakkinen actually taking pole position, Nigel Mansell a great P3 for him, and another grid penalty for Niki Lauda will see him start in P10. So that bumps us up to P6, which is nice, and there you can see the bottom half of the grid. So another poor qualifying for Brawn, which is disappointing for them, but now we are going to take a lap on board of the Spa circuit, the pole lap from Mika Hakkinen. So going across the start-finish line now and towards La Source at turn 1. You can see they're braking down into second gear, clipping that inside apex as we go now towards the famous Eau Rouge corner. So this is where you're really trying to sort of build up the speed before you're bracing yourselves for one of the most famous corners on the F1 calendar, flat in 8th gear in these cars, and now running down the Camel Straight. Pretty much the only opportunity you get on this lap to take a little bit of respite. And as we go towards Les Combes at turn 7, 8 and 9, clipping that inside apex there on both occasions before sort of pulling the car to the outside as you go to turn 9, trying not to get the back end out of shape, but now going towards turn 10 into Brussels. And he's sort of took quite a tight line there, did Hakkinen, before going to the outside of the track and cutting towards the inside in 5th gear into No Name. And now another one of the most famous corners in F1, Pouhon, which is turn 12, going towards the outside, a little bit of glare from the sunlight, so got to be careful there under sort of when you're turning into the corner. But anyway, coming now into Campus, turn 13 and 14, once again hitting those apexes, and now into Stavelot at turn 15 and 16 as we come now towards the curve Paul Frere. So this is where you can really open up now as we come towards Blanchimont and the final section of track. A thrilling section of racetrack, especially when you're trying to pull an overtaking move come Sunday. But now it's all about preparing yourself for the bus stop chicane. Has been altered over the past few years, but it is still as thrilling, and definitely some overtaking opportunities here on Sunday. But coming around the final corner, what a lap from Mika Hakkinen, hitting every single apex. And it's no doubt that that was the pole position lap. But now we are getting onto the formation lap. And on Sunday, the conditions have most certainly changed. It was a dry qualifying, but now you can see very much in the wet here on race day. It is predicted that it will clear up as the race goes on, but there you can see the driver's standings. We do have a lead still of 20 points, but it has been coming down gradually over the last couple of races. And yeah, Niki Lauda is there, but Emerson Fittipaldi, his victory last time out propelled him up into 3rd place, so he's definitely one to watch. But there you can see certain drivers. Lauda's, he's sort of blown his opportunity a little bit today, in the sense that he is starting from P10, but Schumacher definitely in a position to pounce. And there's just so many drivers that have the ability to surprise in this series. But now we are revving up to the 5 red lights for the Belgian Grand Prix. I was going to say Monaco Grand Prix, but we are away now, and the lights were on for what seemed an eternity, but we get a great start in the wet conditions, minimising the wheel spin and already up into P4 as we go to turn 1. And there's been a massive crash behind us, and there's so many cars that have been caught up in it. The Alfa Romeo is who we're concentrating on, and the safety car has unsurprisingly been deployed. We will have to take another replay of that, and it is carnage right from the start. It was Jody Scheckter that tried to move to the inside, went into the Alfa Romeo, and it was just a complete concertina effect. So, well, there was a lot of drivers that got caught up in that, but fortunately at the front of the grid, there isn't any change. So it's Hakkinen from Senna, Mansell, and Alan Jones, who had a great start. He is up in P4. We follow him in P5. And just behind myself is Michael Schumacher, so pretty poor start from him and the Ferraris as a whole. But again, my teammate with another poor start, so he just can't seem to get off the grid whatsoever. But anyway, we are now preparing for the safety car to come in at the end of lap 4. And as we go to the front of the train, you can see there Mika Hakkinen. When is he going to make the burst for it as we go towards the bus stop chicane? It looks as if he's just made that burst now. He's sort of pulled a little bit of a gap to his teammate behind. But as we come through the final corner now, his engine has blown up. And the curse of, well, just leading the race once again continues for the McLarens, and this time it is Mika Hakkinen that has fallen foul of the curse, and he is going to be scoring no points, and what a shame that is for him. So, well, that has just gone completely out of the window, but it's good for us. We are now up into P4, but even at this early stage, we just couldn't seem to keep pace with the cars ahead. You may be able to tell that the rain has actually pretty much stopped, but the track still isn't really drying up, and going down the inside now is Michael Schumacher, and he's made the move on lap 5. Are we going to be able to come back at him into the bus stop chicane, or are we just going to sit back for the meantime? It looks as if we're just going to sit behind. Obviously there's no DRS, so it's going to have to be a completely organic move if we are to get past the 7 times world champion, but the fastest lap times are falling left, right and centre, and we are going to make a move. Are we down the inside into turn 1? No, we think better of it, and we actually, I think we had a little bit of movement under braking because we did get quite a big lock up there, but nonetheless we are sitting behind Schumacher in P5 and trying to go now up Eau Rouge in 8th gear, but we have to lift off and shift down 1 gear, obviously in the rain, but we get a beautiful exit down there and into Les Combes. We are going to make a move surely now on Schumacher and try and close down Alan Jones once again, and yes, we do make the move on Schumacher back up into P4, so it's not all bad for the meantime. And there you can see Jones probably about 2 seconds up the road, and considering the safety car already came in just over a lap ago, it looks as if he and the other Williams and McLaren are going to be making moves up at the top. But there you can see Schumacher once again trying to get past us, but we've pretty much managed to hold it through Eau Rouge, which is quite incredible really, although he is going to have another bite at the cherry as we come down the Camel Straight towards Les Combes, and also the Mercedes of Juan Manuel Fangio trying to make a move, but we stick it down the inside once again of Schumacher, and well, we sort of hold the resistance and stay in P4 for the meantime. But later on in lap 7 now, you can see that once again, the most successful driver in F1 history is going to try and make another move. This time around the outside as we go towards Blanchimont. The drivers are queuing up to get past us at the moment, and who can blame them? We just don't seem to have the wet pace, nor does our teammate. But there you can see Schumacher got squeezed out by his teammate Niki Lauda, who is making some pretty big inroads at this stage. Obviously he started in P10 and he's already up 5 positions up into P5 at the start of lap 8. So now as we go through onto lap 9, we are still holding P4, but this time it's going to be Niki Lauda trying to get past us. We're out of shape up Eau Rouge, and well, Lauda does not need a second invitation to get past. He is our nearest championship rival and needs to be finishing ahead of us in these sort of races if he is to have any chance at the title. And there you can see he makes the move up into P4. So we just sit behind on the steering wheel. You can see that we're making quite a lot of movements. It's just so difficult to control this car. Ayrton Senna is still out in the lead, but there you can see on lap 9 we get onto the AstroTurf, and it just spins us right round, and we are down into P9, and we take this opportunity to go onto the dry tyres. So it's quite a bold move, but you can see as we just lost all those positions, I was pretty convinced that it was going to be a couple of laps before dry running. So I was going to take this opportunity, avoid any sort of traffic in the pit lane, and fit the soft tyres. I thought about the medium tyres, but I thought, you know, go for the softs. You know, try and make some inroads early on these dry tyres. But as we come out now, you'll be able to see we are in P15, is it? Yes, it is. So there's quite a big train of cars, and we've actually just got behind those because there just isn't enough grip at this moment to sort of pick it up immediately. And now we can see Giuseppe Farina in the Alfa Romeo is directly behind us. We are trying to sort of keep the steering inputs to a minimum in order not to spin, but that really didn't work at that stage. And sure enough, Farina is past us, and as is the Tyrrell. Can't quite make out which driver it is. Obviously they both have the white helmets, but I think it may be Jody Scheckter, and yes, it is. So we actually managed to get back past Farina, which is quite nice. For the meantime, there's quite a ding-dong battle going on ahead, and there you can see on the strategy, it pretty much confirms that we're on the wrong tyres at the moment. But nonetheless, we're going to be trying to make inroads on these cars ahead, and not be held up too much as we go through this section into No Name. But we're just going to stick behind Scheckter and hopefully sort of follow this train of cars through, which can hopefully propel us up the order when it does come to the pit stop phase. But now onto lap 11, Farina once again trying to have a look at us. Two different compounds of tyre, one is wet, one is dry, but the dry just about comes out on top this time for myself. Is Farina though going to take another look now down the Kemmel Straight as we go towards Lake On? No, I think we've just about got him this time, fortunately, in P19. Only been one retiree from this race so far, and I believe that was on lap 1. So, yeah, 21 cars, and we are looking as if we're pretty much battling for, well, the penultimate position on the race circuit. But Farina gets past us, and this beautiful camera angle, and that we're going to switch to now. Are we going to make a dive down the inside at the bus stop chicane? Yes, we are. Beautiful stuff. And as Barrichello peels off into the pitch, you can see what sort of advantage we now have on the dry tyres. Even though the back end is kicking out a little bit, you know, the grip isn't optimal, but I think it is just slightly better than the intermediate tyres. I believe the rain only actually lasted for 3 laps, but because the track was so cold, it was just impossible for the moisture to dry up until halfway through this race now. Once again, Farina is going to take a look at us, but he thinks better of it, and just that beautiful camera angle through Eau Rouge. Any excuse for me to use that, and I will take it. But yeah, end of lap 12, and the second batch of cars come into the pit lane. The teammates that didn't get serviced first time around, I guess you could say. Although Farina does actually stay out on the intermediates, which is interesting. And now you really do get a true position of where we are in this race. And you can see Fernando Alonso is ahead of us. We have come out in P8. So Alonso's P7. Up in P6 is Emerson Fittipaldi, the winner from last time out. Then it's my teammate up in P5, who is following Juan Manuel Fangio, so it'll be interesting to see whether he makes a move anytime soon. Then it's Ayrton Senna, who doesn't seem to have come out too well after that pit stop phase. And then it is Michael Schumacher, I believe. No, it isn't, sorry, it's Niki Lauda, excuse me. But then out in the lead is Nigel Mansell at the moment, so that would be a big haul of points for him if he were to be able to keep this. Or obviously he was running well in the British Grand Prix until he sort of messed up his strategy. But behind us on lap 15, we've got Jim Clark. He's elected for the super soft tyres at this stage, so we just can't compete with that whatsoever. We sort of just allow him to get past us. We think, you know what, maybe it'll be a good idea to try and follow him through. and maybe make some inroads on Fernando Alonso ahead. But anyway, Jim Clark takes P8. We are down into P9. It's just not been a great afternoon for us so far. Don't seem to have had the pace on race day. And all of a sudden, Schumacher is trying to go down the inside of us, and sure enough, he does just that. And we try to go around the outside of him using all the track and a little bit more. And this is going to be a great battle, hopefully, for the final few laps. And Schumacher tries to hold it on the inside. Alan Jones is also behind him. He seems to have some good pace, but once again it's been a questionable strategy from the Williams guys on his side of the garage. But we do manage to get past Schumacher up into P8 at the start of lap 16. And I believe it's Lewis Hamilton as well behind, who is prowling. And as we go through Eau Rouge, and Schumacher is looking down the inside, and is he going to be able to make the move? No, he isn't, and he runs wide, and that means that Alan Jones has taken the position off him, and it looks as if he is going to be making the move on us. Also, Lewis Hamilton taking a look at Schumacher behind, but Alan Jones gets up into P8 ahead of myself. And the Williams guys have just been untouchable all weekend. So, yeah, Jones, I believe, had to wait an extra lap to get service. So he sort of had a lap on the wet tyres when they just weren't rubbing into the track and just weren't suitable whatsoever. So that's why he's so far down. Same with Michael Schumacher as well. But they are trying to charge through the field. And as we go just further ahead, it's my teammate battling with Fangio. And as we go through Blanchimont, Fangio's gone wide and he has punted Sebastian Vettel into the wall. And boy, does that Vettel get any luck in this series? I mean, in the Red Bull era, Vettel just had all the luck and all the fortune and just all the skill as well, and in this series it just doesn't seem to have been the case, so that really is a shame. Not trying to say that Vettel was a lucky driver before anyone gets triggered in the comments, but yeah, there you can see he's just strewn across the racetrack. Unfortunately it hindered Schumacher in getting past us as well, so it did sort of benefit us. But as we start lap 17 now, it's surely only a matter of time before Schumacher gets past us permanently, you would think, but we just seem to be just digging that little bit extra from this car, and he does get past us. But with DRS being active at this stage of the race, we're just going to stick behind Schumacher and try and get that DRS as we go onto the straight. But you can just see that we're losing grip rapidly at the moment. We're getting on the DRS now. Hamilton is behind us, but we are looking in front and going to try and make a diving move down the inside of Schumacher, but it just doesn't work. We have to stick behind him. And yeah, it looks as if we're actually going to be looking behind us now. And yeah, Schumacher, I think, is going to be off into the distance. So we're down into P9, and it is not looking good. Although we do manage to close up to him through Brussels in turn 10. And as we go through No Name, you'll just be able to see the superior grip that Schumacher has. So at the end of lap 17, you can see Hamilton is closing in on us to try and get past. And at this point, we sort of made the executive decision that these soft tyres are not going to make it to the end. So yeah, I'll hold my hands up. That was a strategic error from me when I did change onto the dry compound. Should have gone for the mediums, but I went for the softs. They weren't going to make it to the end, and it looks as if we were going to be passed by Hamilton pretty soon, so we had to make that decision to go onto the super soft tyres. A 2.1 second pit stop from the guys, but we are going to be on the quickest tyres, the super softs, for the final 5 laps, I believe, of this race. So we actually come out just behind Farina, who obviously we were battling earlier on in the race, so it doesn't seem to have been a good afternoon for us whatsoever. And once again, I have messed up the strategy around this racetrack. But anyway, we are still having some good battles, trying to go around the outside of Nelson Piquet, who has completely pushed us off the racetrack. But we are just thinking, you know what, I'm not going to wait for him. I'm just going to get straight past him. And yeah, he didn't, you know, we didn't do anything to deserve to, you know, be passed by him or stay behind him. So we think, you know what, we're just going to get our elbows dirty and out up into P14 as Jackie Stewart sets the fastest lap of the race. So we're just going to take a replay of this. So Piquet gets passed by Farina, and then as we come into the second part of Blanchimont, just completely pushes us off the racetrack. So yeah, I feel like we're within our rights definitely to have got past him there. On to lap 19 now, and you can see we're trying to get past Giuseppe Farina, more for pride than anything, as we do actually go purple through the first sector, and sure enough we do muscle the Italian off the racetrack, well not even off the racetrack, but just sort of muscle him away and have him at arm's length. So we're up into P13, not looking as if we're going to be scoring any points this afternoon, as we are now on to lap 22, the final lap of this race. Obviously, Spa is the Grand Prix with the fewest laps, seeing as it is a 7-kilometre circuit. But anyway, less of that, more of the racing action. We're going to try and make a move now on Jody Scheckter for P12. Once again going purple through the first sector. Are we going to be able to do it round the outside? No, we're just going to have to stick behind him for the meantime. And as we go towards the final corner of the race, Nigel Mansell has driven a perfect race for Williams. He may not have taken pole position, but he takes the victory, and Ayrton Senna, who started in P2, takes P2, just about fending off my title rival Niki Lauda, who takes a brilliant P3 after starting 10th. And there you can see Juan Manuel Fangio taking P4. But we're just going to go back to our action once again, and as we go through Brussels, we are so much quicker than the AI through that section, and sure enough we bully our way past Scheckter this time up into P12. There you can see confirmation of Mansell's race victory. But as we come through the final corner, we do stay ahead of Jody Scheckter and take P12. So for the first time in this series, I believe we do not score any points in a race. But yeah, that was just all down to strategy, and the best strategy was played by the Williams team on Mansell's side of the garage, and that is the reason why he is going home with his first 25 points of the season. And believe it or not, he'd only actually scored 18 points previous to this race. 15 of them came at the Canadian Grand Prix, so it's been a very up and down season for him. But there you can see the full race results. So we've already recapped the top 4, and 5th was Emerson Fittipaldi, so 35 points in the last 2 races for him isn't bad whatsoever. Alan Jones, the first big points for him all season, and there you can see Alonso, Schumacher, Hamilton and Clark rounding out the points. Mika Hakkinen was the only DNF from the race. I think I might have mentioned earlier on that someone retired on lap 1. How did I forget Hakkinen? But anyway, there you can see our teammate as well in P21, so poor from him. But there we can see the top 10 in the driver's standings. We now only have a 5-point lead as we go into the final 3 rounds of the season. Fittipaldi, another big result for him, so he maintains P3 with Ayrton Senna closing up in P4. Fangio got back on track this race as well in P5. My teammate actually fell out of the top 10, so no points for Red Bull, meaning that Ferrari take the lead at the top of the constructors standings. But guys, it's been a pleasure once again to make another Legends career video. Let me know your thoughts down below once again, but until my next video guys, do take care, bye bye.